This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday the 3rd of April and it is time for some Super Yacht News. Alright guys, so you all know who Roman Abramovich is and you all know which yachts he has. He has the big 162 metre Super Yacht Eclipse and he has his latest boat is motor yacht Solaris. And those boats are both out in Turkey right now. Very brief backstory is Solaris was in Barcelona getting some much needed maintenance done, but it was hurried out of the dry dock and it fled the day before the UK placed sanctions on Roman Abramovich. I think about a week later the EU also placed sanctions on him. The boat shot over to Montenegro, supposedly to refuel, but it didn't actually refuel, and then after a few days there at anchor they left there and headed to Turkey. In the meantime, Eclipse leaves Anguilla in the Caribbean and shoots across the Atlantic at 18 knots, heads straight through Gibraltar and right through the Med and heads to Turkey also. Incredible journey, over 6,000 nautical miles. Seemed to have made it without refueling. They both went to Turkey, right? So Turkey's a NATO country, but they're not in the EU, although they wanted to be in the EU, and yet they are not enforcing the sanctions that the EU are. Like Montenegro, who's not in the EU, they've joined in to enforce the sanctions, UK, US, EU sanctions. Turkey have not done that. So it is turning into a bit of a safe haven for super yacht owners who perhaps don't want to go to Vladivostok. Roman Abramovich is not doesn't seem to be keen to send his yachts over there, so he's gone to Turkey instead, except for the two that are in the Caribbean right now, smaller ones. The reason why I bring this up is because a London-headquartered port operator could be breaching the sanctions by allowing Roman Abramovich to dock motor yacht Solaris in the port in Bodrum in Turkey, because the company is actually British owned. And it's actually on the London Stock Exchange since 2007. The company is called Global Port Holding, and they are being told that they have a very big risk by allowing a super yacht by a sanctioned individual to use one of its ports. And this is because UK sanction laws prevent British companies from accepting payments from companies or assets controlled by sanctioned individuals. So bottom line is the laws that have been created, the legislation says that we're not allowed to give any assistance, technical assistance. You're not, now they're adding crew to that, so it will be technically illegal for crew to work for sanctioned individuals also. Of course the Turkish foreign minister says that Abramovich is of course welcome to do business in Turkey as per international law, so they're not likely to start sanctioning anybody right now. Another vessel that is in Turkey is, if you go right back to the beginning of my videos on the sanctions and sanctioned super yachts, you will see there was a story about a vessel called Galactica Supernova. She was in Montenegro and she left Montenegro and turned off her AIS and basically vanished. She's owned by Vajek Alekperov, and he's the president of Russia-based Lukoil. And he's actually not on the sanctions list, but I think he suspected he was going to be, and his vessel hightailed it and left. I mean, it wouldn't be unusual for his vessel to sail to Turkey, but it's the way that he did it. Vessel turned off its AIS and effectively we couldn't track it. However, one of the subscribers of the channel spotted the boat in Turkey and sent me this photograph that I'll put up on screen right now. So that's number 3 vessel in Turkey. Another vessel that headed in that direction was in Imperia in Italy. Now, if you remember back, we saw Lady M as one of the first vessels to be arrested by the Italian authorities in Imperia. That was on the 3rd of March. On the 2nd of March, this vessel, which is a 74 metre or 242 foot Amels vessel that was built in 2018, she left Imperia. She was there. This vessel is often in Imperia and spends its winters there. She left the day before on the 2nd of March and headed south very quietly, There was no mention of this vessel up until now that I've seen in any of the press. This vessel, according to some of my sources, said that it was owned by a very high up Russian politician. Now the vessel headed to Turkey also, and she's now in Istanbul in Turkey. Now, fairly recently, I've got good information that the vessel is linked to former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. So that is another vessel that has left Italy, or left the EU, should I say, and gone to Turkey. Now it seems like Turkey is becoming a safe haven somewhat for sanctioned superyacht owners. If you've seen any of these vessels, if you're in Turkey and you've seen any of these vessels, take a photo or video, get in touch. The usual ways. You can go to the About page on my home channel on YouTube, or you can contact me through Instagram. Alright guys, some other updates in the news right now. The vessel MotorYacht Pi, I'm going to go with Pi. I've been told in the comments that that is pronounced in every other possible way you can pronounce it. Phi, Pi, Thigh, but I'm going to go with Pi, P-H-I, the vessel formerly known as Pi, I'll say. She's the 59 metre yacht that was arrested in London. In London? She is the first vessel to be arrested in the UK, in UK waters. Well, actually, I had a subscriber contacted me the other day and sent me some photographs saying that the vessel was refueling. Now, in normal circumstances, you might think, oh my god, the vessel's refueling, maybe it's about to leave and it's been arrested, right? Well, it's quite normal for a vessel to receive fuel even when she's not sailing, because if the vessel is not running on shore power, then they need fuel to run generators so the vessel has power and air conditioning and stuff like that. So a vessel that is docked can still use fuel, especially the big boats, not like this one, but like Solaris and Eclipse and stuff. It's very unlikely they'd ever be able to connect to shore power because they're just too big. So they always need to have fuel, even though they're not planning on going anywhere, or they're not allowed to go anywhere. But the reason why I bring this up is because the owner, his name is Vitaly Kochakov, and according to the Financial Times, he is the owner of MotorYacht Pi, and he owns Motiv Telecom, which is a small mobile network in the Urals of Russia. It's a small network, but apparently very well paying. So he's the owner of that vessel, and I think I said in a previous video that the vessel was actually in London to receive an award, a superyacht award, which is unfortunate for the owner, I suppose. And one other story, let's go back to Gibraltar, and a vessel called MotorYacht Axioma went into Gibraltar and was immediately arrested, boarded by authorities. The vessel was arrested, and it was announced at the time that a bank had put in a claim against the vessel, and that's why the vessel was arrested. Well, it turns out that bank is JP Morgan, and won a court order authorizing the seizure of a Russian oligarch's $75 million superyacht in Gibraltar, the reports say. So that is what they're saying, that the vessel was seized. But I think she was arrested under warrant because of money owed. So the bank was collecting on the debt. So in that particular instance, that vessel could be sold if the debt is not settled. As far as I know, the vessel is still in Gibraltar under arrest. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for everybody who has helped me with these videos, whether it's been information or photographs as usual. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to like this video because it really helps with the algorithm. Thanks very much guys. I'll catch up with you soon. Bye bye.